My name is Andrea, and I'm a full time entrepreneur. I moved to Phoenix, Arizona after living in the DC area for over 10 years. To me, a full life means focus and commitment to things that truly matter to me. It means being focused on aspects of my life that will be meaningful not just today, but in the years to come. And it means pushing past fear to go after those things. A full life means surrounding myself with people, activities, and things that will enrich my life and help me reach my goals. And perhaps most importantly, it means defining when to say yes and when to say no. When a person's life is full, no area is left unaccounted for, emotionally, spiritually, socially, and physically. Throughout my professional career, and also as a self advocate, I've had amazing opportunities to connect with like minded peers through civic engagement. That remains a joy of mine here in Arizona, just as it was in DC. One of the greatest joys of moving to this side of the country has been getting to build family both here in Phoenix and nearby in the Bay Area. Giving hugs to, sharing experiences with, and having the deepest of conversations with folks that I'd only previously built relationships through social media has brought so much peace and happiness. It's also been important for me to identify and connect with people with disabilities, as this is an aspect of my identity that I'm committed to continually embracing and nurturing. Back in August of 2019, I received an email from friends at Mobility International USA, with whom I traveled to Jordan in 2012. The email began like this: Hi, Andrea. I want to reach out to you to see if you would have interest to lead a disability advocacy workshop in Ghana for youth. Who says no to an email that begins like that? In late August, I began planning for the most exciting, exhilarating, exhausting, most difficult, and best challenge of my career. With just over 6 weeks, I had the privilege and the challenge of preparing to train 16 young adults with and without disabilities from around the world for an inclusivity workshop hosted in Accra, Ghana. Over 4 days, I had an opportunity to deliver trainings on disability rights and history, justice, advocacy, allyship, and so much more, as these powerful young adults sought to gain insight into how to make their exchange program, which they participated in as high school students, more disability inclusive. Opportunities to travel abroad are always enlightening, but this trip to Ghana took it so much further. Humbling is more like it. I was humbled to be invited to lead, humbled to be among such strong company, humbled to realize what a powerful global community of disabled leaders I am a part of. After any trip, especially an international one, there's nothing like coming back to a space you love. For me, that's my quaint space in Tempe, Arizona, just outside of Phoenix. When I came to do apartment hunting in September 2018, I'd narrowed down to three complexes. Each visit felt like a Goldilocks situation. One was a bit too rough, one was a bit too swanky, even for me, but one felt just right. It was the perfect mix of comfort and style, with just enough professionalism to escape embarrassment during video conference calls. A few months ago marked 1 year in this space, and I'm loving it just as much today as I did when I moved in. It's the first time I've been in a position to fill every nook and cranny with things that are perfectly Andrea. Anyone that knows me knows that I require daily assistance from personal care attendants to assist with various needs that I have as a wheelchair user. And my ups and downs with them throughout the years have been both lovely and stressful sometimes. However, my PCA experience in Phoenix has brought more joy and stability than I thought could occur in my first year here. Now, I'd be lying if I said that every day has been peachy, but I have been blessed throughout my year to have PCAs in my home that have each enhanced my day to day. Since last May, I've been blessed with a few that truly make my life sweet. There's Raina, who's an engineering student at Arizona State University, and her family includes parents, that are both in the healthcare field. She prides herself on being a master organizer and is incredibly quick and attentive. It's that 19-year-old energy. Then there's my Molly, who is a cosmetologist by trade with a background in home and nursing care. And she is all things creative and is responsible for my fall decor, my Christmas decor, which she makes by hand. She's the one who consistently helps me break my diet by bringing me homemade goodies and, in general, has the most sincere heart. Starting at age 15, there's one part of the Andraéa brand that has always been a priority: my nails. For over 2 decades, my nails have served as a great conversation piece, perfect for the person that doesn't love small talk, and an outlet to express my creativity in even the most sterile environments. And they certainly are a self-care priority. From acrylic overlays to gel to SNS powder and more, I've tried it all and have been truly grateful to have some of the best nail technicians in the field. Over the past 16 years, I've spent a total of 18 hours without some manner of nail adornment. Obviously, that meant that one of my greatest stressors after moving to Phoenix was finding a great nail technician. As many of us with disabilities know, finding an accessible place with technicians that don't panic about my physical needs is not an easy feat. Thanks to the power of Instagram, I was led to an absolutely phenomenal woman-owned and operated nail shop in Tempe, Arizona, that does some of the most creative work I've ever seen. Even still, they have intentionally worked to ensure access is a priority. Over the course of the year, I've had 2 nail techs and have enjoyed going in each time with lofty ideas that become a reality. Other than the time when I tried to convince my high school powder puff team to let me run over a few toes, which they wouldn't let me do, organized sports hasn't really been my thing. I honestly just didn't see it as an option. So when perusing the local Center for Independent Living website prior to my move, I was pumped about the idea of exploring different adaptive sports activities. First on my list, power wheelchair soccer. I didn't even know it was a thing and certainly had no idea that this team had just won a national championship. So knowing nothing about soccer other than there is a big ball and goals, I decided to try out for the team because why not? Spoiler alert, I did not make the team. In addition to soccer, I've also had opportunities to try out adaptive water skiing, which I loved and can't wait to do again. And yes, there are bodies of water in Arizona. And adaptive hiking, also a new fave of mine. In general, I remain in awe of the fact that whenever I look out in my new city, I see mountains and cacti as my backdrop. And no snow. Over the years, I've focused a lot on diets and eating plans. But after being in Phoenix a while, I decided to shift my focus from fitting into a specific size to feeling good and being healthy. Thankfully, yet another perk of my new Western home is that the weather is nice enough to have fresh organic produce throughout the year. For months, the farmer's market has been a part of my weekly routine. If I can't make it to my favorite one in downtown Phoenix, then I head to the one in downtown Tempe on Sundays after church. It's become like visiting family, where the vendors and I catch up on life happenings and miss one another when we miss a day. Even still, I've come to enjoy Friday afternoons when I put together my recipes, make my grocery list, and separate out what I'll get from the farmer's market and what I'll purchase from the local grocery store for delivery. The finished products are always so fun to see, and though I don't execute the recipes, it makes me feel like I played a part in making food I love. Now, don't get me wrong, I do indulge, but I do so feeling good about the idea that there's always something yummy and healthy waiting for me at home. My commitment for 2020 is less about doing a whole bunch of new stuff, but more about remaining consistent in the things that I love doing. Eating well, enjoying friends, self-care, working out, and so much more.